I don't know.
Hey, you film done this way. Can I throw this away?
I'm sure you can. There's Juan Carlito, baby.
Yeah, it should be on.
There's
We ask that you please be seated. We ask that you please be seated. Thank you. It's nice to have you here this morning. We're happy to have you with us. The ceremony will begin in just a moment or two. Would you please stand for the processional?
Please remain standing for the national anthem. Receive your degree this morning. You are the small minority of men and women of your age who have received the privilege of obtaining undergraduate and graduate degrees. The education which precedes these degrees is the result of 1,000 years of historic investment, courage, labor, and struggle. You have worked and perhaps sacrificed to earn your degree, but the vast difference in the price you paid and the value you will receive is a priceless gift. Society has given you its greatest treasure, the right to assume your place as an educated person, an educated citizen. With that treasure, you can gain wealth, or power, or fame, or even better, a good and useful life. Like all of life's gifts, however, there's a catch. Those who receive are required to use and use well the treasure they hold. Last week, as we were preparing to honor Oscar Arias, the former president of Costa Rica, really a world ambassador of peace, we reviewed some materials about him which had been sent to us. Among the materials was a speech made by Dr. Arias entitled, "History is Ours to Write." That brings us back to the catch. Because of the treasure you have received, history is yours to write. You may need to record conflicts with persons blinded by prejudice, by ignorance, and by intolerance, but you must not let them prevail. You may not let them shape the future. You must not let them do the writing. The decisive strokes must be yours, because you are the ones prepared to write a history of progress rather than regression, a history of freedom rather than bondage, a history of justice rather than oppression, and a history of peace rather than war. In a few minutes, you will receive your degree. You will join the ranks of the brightest and the best. You will take up the task of making history. No, he's there somewhere. Maybe he's not in that section. I would like to introduce Mrs. Irene Cogan, wife of Supreme Court Justice Cogan. I'd like to introduce the First Lady of the State University System of Florida, Catherine Reed, whose daughter will receive her master's degree today. And I'd like to introduce the First Lady of Florida State University, my wife, Marilyn. Thank you. Next, I would like to recognize three special guests seated on the platform with us today who will not be introduced later. And again, I would ask you to hold your applause until I've introduced all three. They are the Honorable Gerald Cogan, Justice of the Florida Supreme Court, the Honorable Cecil Keene, member of the Florida Board of Regents, and the Honorable Sean Pittman, student member of the Florida Board of Regents, three of our special guests. And at this time, it's my pleasure to recognize and ask to stand four groups of university officers who are seated on the platform who will not be introduced later. Our vice presidents.
Good morning. Winston Churchill was a man who understood the nature of commencements and the desires of the graduating class with reference to commencement speeches. By custom, the occasion calls for a speaker. The audience, however, subliminally calls for a brief speaker. Churchill, I understand, was asked to speak at a graduation, and after he was introduced, he approached the podium with his famous cigar clenched in his teeth. He took the cigar out of his mouth, set it on the side of the podium, and he looked out at the graduates with his proverbial steely eyes and said, "Never give up." He paused and gripped the podium, looked at another segment of the audience and said, "Never give up." He then picked up his cigar, gave a sweeping glance at the entire graduating class and said, "Never give up," and he sat down. Obviously, I cannot do that because I don't smoke cigars. Besides which, I'm afraid I don't have Mr. Churchill's discipline, and it's too hard to pass up an opportunity to visit with you for a few minutes this morning, and I will say that there will be a few minutes. I'd like to talk to you just about a couple of things. Three: peas in a pod, sunburn, and a Jimmy Buffett song. And before all the educators on the podium get nervous, I suppose I ought to talk about education. And I ought to do that first while you're still paying attention. We're here celebrating the completion of one educational phase and your embarkation, I hope, on another, because I do not see this as the termination point of the educational process. But because we are here sort of at a milestone in the educational process, it seems a good opportunity to examine the concept of education. What is it really? Why do we need it? How do we acquire it? You know, technology, as all of us know, has made enormous advances in the recent past. We have camera scopes that can see in the dark. Glasses can now also be seen through gases can be seen through technological methods, and there are microscopes and telescopes and all kinds of scopes that let us see things now that we never could see before. And if I could take a moment to pretend that there was such a scope that permits us to take an abstract concept.
Mr. President, I have the honor on behalf of the faculty of the Florida State University to present these candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Fine Arts, Bachelor of Science in Nursing, Bachelor of Music, and Bachelor of Music Education.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the State Board of Education and the Board of Regents, I hereby confer upon you the appropriate degree for which you've been qualified, whether the Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Fine Arts, Bachelor of Science in Nursing, Bachelor of Music, or Bachelor of Music Education. We extend to you our sincere congratulations. You may now move your tassel from the right side to the left. Please be seated.
Dunwan Chow. Hermoso Noria with honors. Heidi Lynn Hester.
Where's that clapping?
Amanda Ruth Hickman. Marlene Joy Hillis. Amy Melissa Horde, cum laude. Monica Yolanda Iglesias Evans, cum laude. Robert James Evans, cum laude. Daryl Suzanne. Kelly Michelle Green. Suzanne Elizabeth Griffiths. Fernando L. Garuta Jr. Margaret Gay Gumares. Andrea Catherine Guma. Michael Anthony Gurrick. Scott Bradley Gutterman. Marcy Kieran Haynes. Robert Jason Hallecky. Spence Stephen Hall. Don Renee Hansen. Daniel J. Hannigan. Byron J. Hare. Otello Ronnie Harris. Robert Aubrey Hart, cum laude. Eric John Heinrich. Juan Carlos Hermoso Noria. Heather Marie Hero. Laura C. Hertz. Ronald James Heinbaugh. Lyle E. Hostetler.
Florida State University to present the candidates for the master's and specialist degrees.
Oh God, look how few of them there are.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the State Board of Education and the Board of Regents, I hereby confer upon you the appropriate degree for which you've qualified, whether master's or specialist. We extend to you our sincere congratulations. Please be seated.
Monica Maria Safiano. Alice Martha Daly. Cynthia Ann Hardy. Todd Shelton Howard. Paul Eric Hull. Geraldine S. Hussey. Shaw Gia. Michael Joseph Kerner. Karen E. Krebs. David Torrey Coleman. Stephanie Jean Lee. David Paul Miller. Gabriel Reyes. Daniel Francis Pinfalu. Matthew James Richard. Thomas Marcus Thoringer. Brian Scott Thomas. Winfield Trevette II. Juan.
Mr. Pinfo.
I'm Kim
Robert
Thomas
Malone
right
Jr.
now.
Where is he? Is he up on stage?
Rusty
No, he's sitting
Hare.
down.
Paul Mastando.
There's
Renee Michelle Smith.
Assistance and support of many of you, their parents, their spouses, members of their families and their friends. I ask for those who supported these graduates to please stand and let us recognize you, parents, spouses, relatives, friends. Of the Civic Center, immediately following the ceremony. Let me give you a sense of how to get there. To get there, you have to go back upstairs, go around the lobby, into this side over here, and then down an escalator, and then walk straight ahead after you come off the escalator, and you will find meeting room A, I assure you. If you will, please rise for the recessional, which will be led by the platform party, then the faculty, the new doctor,